Watch Dr. Drew's new show at 9 on HLN. Weeknights on HLN.
Could the dead body smell have affected actually who is on the jury? So back with me is ABC News correspondent Ashley Banfield and criminal defense attorney Mark Eiglarsh. Joining me in the studio is Richard Gabriel. He was a jury consultant for Casey Anthony's defense team. So Richard, I imagine everything is important when it comes to jury selection. You're just contemplating everything.
Correct.
Everything, all right.
Everything.
And you, when you consult for the defense, are trying to advise them how to pick people that would be advantageous to their point of view.
Right.
And already my understanding is that this being a death penalty trial, you've got sort of a biased jury pool generally.
Yes.
So how do you select, or what do you do to sort of pull things back towards the defense?
Well, it's a great effort. In a normal case, people don't know much about the case. You're just trying to deselect the people who have any sort of biases that may lean them toward the prosecution. In this case, it's doubly hard. You still have people on this particular jury who actually have heard a tremendous amount about the case and even think that she's probably guilty.
Didn't the judge ask them that, or did the defense people ask them that? No.
Well, they did ask them that. Some of them say, I have the impression that she's guilty, but I can keep an open mind. Well, as we all know from the psychological literature, confirmation bias says we're only looking for stuff that confirms what we already believe.
Are there people on this jury that already have a sense that Casey's guilty?
I'm sure there are.
There are.
I'm sure there are.
Ashley, we're going to talk about the jury in detail, sort of one by one. You've been in the courtroom. Is there anything you could just give us, sort of before we start going to the individuals, sort of an overview of how this jury seems to you?
Yeah, I've been very impressed by them, I have to say. They are very focused. They listen intently. They don't nod off. They don't look around during the critical times. The only time I see them really looking around and wondering what else is going on in the courtroom is during sidebar, and that's fine. They need a mental break at some point. This is really tough slugging. But you know something, I want to add to what you were just talking about. Death qualified does not just mean that you believe in the death penalty. A lot of these jurors said they don't, but they could follow the law and consider it. So I'm not so sure we have an entirely biased jury from the get-go for death.
Well, I was just bringing up some literature I've read, and I think you're confirming that the death penalty juries tend to be more biased towards a conviction.
They do. There's a lot of studies that actually do show that they do it, and what happens is in the process when you're death qualifying a jury, you're spending so much time talking about the death qualification that a lot of jurors tend to start feeling, well,
she must be guilty.
There.
Yeah, we're already at the conviction. All right, well, let's take a look at some of these jurors. First, we're starting with juror number 1, and she has some similarities with juror 3 and 5. She is a nurse. She's a retired nurse. 3 and 5 are also either retired nurses or nursing students. In the course of her job, naturally, she would have been around people that were deceased, married, 2 kids. She's 65 years old. Mark. There's a lot of talk in this trial about dead bodies. Which side can potentially benefit, say, from 3 nurses present in the juror's box?
Well, I need to talk about this juror in particular. This is the one juror that I take greatest exception to as to why the defense kept her on. She stated that she knows the smell of decomposition. What's going to happen is she's going to serve as an expert in the jury room, whether you like it or not. She's going to say to the others, no. You need to credit the testimony of those who smelled decomposition as opposed to garbage, because there's a huge difference. And that's going to undermine the defense's argument that there was no decomposing in that body in that car. I'm surprised they left her on.
You know what, Mark? Let me, as a physician, sort of talk about that decomposition argument. Because if I were sitting in the jury box, here's how I would respond to it. I would assume it's very vague what they're talking about. I must tell you. I think they're talking about the smell of what's called putrefaction, which is decaying tissue, which, by the way, not just dead humans smell like that. And by the way, not just dead humans smell like that. People with gangrene smell like that.
True.
And
True.
by the way, trash could kind of smell like that. It's not as though it's so unique that you've never smelled anything like it. There are
Drew.
smells like that. They're not dead bodies, though. What?
Drew, let me keep this simple.
Drew,
I've told you this before. Drew, you are too smart. You wouldn't be, not to say that jurors aren't bright, but you have too much expertise. You wouldn't be in that jury room.
I understand that you and Richard would exclude me. Ashley, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to just tell you that I spoke with the canine officer whose dog jumped in the trunk, and he said the smell hit me at the same time the dog marked it. And I said, is it unique, human decomposition? Is there nothing else out there that smells like it? And he said, pigs smell like that, but nothing else. That was his impression, and that's what he does for a living.
But I will remind you that rotting arms on living humans smell the same way. I mean, there's all kinds of things that do smell like that. But let's go to another juror. Let's go to juror number 2. He is a married father. His mother was a single mom, just like Casey Anthony's. He is married with 2 kids. He's an IT worker. Ashley, could he be sympathetic to Casey, do you think?
You know, I stopped reading the tea leaves long ago after, I think, trial number 250. Just when you think you have somebody who's going to, sort of lean one way, they end up being less inclined to be a foreman. They end up being sort of articulate but refined to certain details that you never thought that they would attach to. And then you find others who just glaze right over things, who are very well educated and didn't sort of get the whole idea. It really is a group process. That's the funny thing about jurors. Very, very much a group process, and some are easily swayable. So while I like to think I know what these statistics and these descriptions mean, I don't.